Hi there folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me once again. Well, we're delving into the classic Matchbox back catalogue again of vintage kits, and today something that many of you have been waiting for, probably thinking, where are the jets? You know, I've only had one, I think, maybe two. Well, today it's the F104 Starfighter, or the Widowmaker, it was better known. Very, very strange aircraft. I remember I actually had a couple of these and built them, and I couldn't get over as a child just how it just seemed to be just like basically a missile, really, with a man sitting on top of it. And of course, I'm afraid that this was an aircraft that there was a lot of controversy. I remember in the 60s where I think can't quite recall the exact story, but there was a clash between the Brits and the Americans, and the British were trying to sell Hunters, I think it was, to Germany, and instead they bought these Starfighters. Well, that was a big mistake because, frankly, it's a very fast aircraft, good as an interceptor, I suppose, but not much good for anything else, and had a horrendous safety record of crashes. Just crashing, you know, a very hard to control aircraft, only for very skilled pilots. Doesn't have a lot of manoeuvrability, can't dogfight, you know, it relies on its rockets. I don't know what people were thinking of, I don't know what the Americans were thinking of actually at the time. Not a great plane, very spectacular, good rate of climb, you know, but you know, I said about the Hunter, it may have been the Lightning, I think it was the Lightning, I'm getting confused. So we were trying to sell the Lightning to Germany and other places because actually there is no contest. The Lightning will just kick this thing's butt. Speed, manoeuvrability, usability and safety, superior in every way. Sorry Americans, you know, you've got some fantastic aircraft. This was not one of them, okay? But anyway, let's have a look at it because it's certainly an interesting subject and a very spectacular jet. It's worth looking into. So, let's have a nosy, get you in a bit closer. So, here we have it in Royal Canadian, or the Canadians bought it as well. And they were thinking about having the Avro Arrow. They should have stuck with the Arrow, to be honest. But anyway, it says here there's a Tiger Squadron over the RAF base at Lucas, Scotland. Oh, so they're over here on a trip, by the look of it. And it says that they are having the annual meeting of NATO's Tiger Squadrons. The Tiger Meet decals is displayed on all Tiger Squadron aircraft entering the event. Okay, so hence it's got a little tiger on it there. Excellent. So this is PK-28, again one of the later generation kits. This we have with this interesting scheme where it shows basically what the model will look like if you don't paint it. You can see it's a very interesting looking plane. It's quite futuristic looking, I think is the word. It always reminded me of like something from Captain Scarlet, or you know, Thunderbirds even, something like that. Because it didn't seem to me to be a sort of aircraft that could actually fly, and it didn't fly very well. Yeah, I know, I'm being a bit OTT, but you know what I mean. It was a very tricky plane, this was. Not one I would have volunteered to fly. On the side we've got Henschel, we've got the Gladiator, the Hawk, which we're going to be reviewing soon, and the Buffalo, which we have reviewed. On the back, we've got some nice artwork. It's a nice example, this. 1975 edition, so that was the first edition for this plane, this model. And it's actually got the RAF Lucas Tiger Meet. It mentions RAF Lucas here. It's from the Royal Canadian Air Force here as visitors to our fair country, and Scotland in particular in this case. So that was the Tiger Meet in, what year did they say? Doesn't say what the year was. I'm thinking it was probably 74, something like that. Underneath we have the Jägersvater 71 Baron von Richthofen Squadron, and that's in a very nice German scheme, and that's 1966, so actually that could have been earlier, 66. So in 1966 it must have been quite a futuristic looking plane, but anyway, let's have a look, see if we can get into this. Oh, by the way, you might notice that here shows the cost of inflation, doesn't it? This was actually 72p. Now that's not when it came out, that will be in the 80s, probably early 80s I think. Let's have a look inside again. I think I only have one of these, so I'm going to have to be very gentle with it. Let's see what we have got in the box. Take it out. Okay. Okay, nothing's rattling, that's a good start. One sprue, two, free as we'd expect. Okay, now the first thing you notice is that there just don't appear to be any wings. Oh, that's a bit strange. No wings. Oh yes, there they are. They're just so small I didn't notice them. Let's have a look then. So we've got this blue sprue, which is actually the main fuselage with the tail section as well. And this is the problem with this aircraft. It's just like an enormous jet engine with a pointy end, a tail stuck on the top looking like an afterthought. And I'm being very cruel about this plane, but you know, no, I never understood it. Yeah. I take my hat off to the men who flew these, because they must have been very brave and A, and B, very skilled to survive. Lots of them didn't. So here we've got, it's like a two-sided tail section here, so you can see both sides there. And then we've got this, this is the lower section of the jet pipe covering cowl at the rear, and the pointy nose here. Nicely moulded. Recessed panel lines, not like that awful Kitty Hawk Warhawk we saw recently, which was just tragic. That is nicely moulded, I've got to say. In fact, it looks gorgeous. Here's the white sprue. Oh, are these the tails? Oh no, these are the wings, aren't they? Sorry, I'm taking the... I'm being rather sarcastic, but yeah, it's a little bit strange, isn't it, to have such tiny wings and then tiny tailplane as well. Not a lot of control surfaces. We've got a couple of sidewinder rockets here, and we've got the quite a nice jet pipe at the end, so you can actually see some detail in this. That's quite cool. And intakes, got the weapon rails for the end of the wingtips. Got your pilot here, his seat. It's a little bit flashy actually, but that's mainly on the actual sprue rather than the parts. But yeah, and then we've got these tiny little stubby wings, which I've been making fun of a little bit. But they are small, aren't they? You know, it's not going to dogfight, is it, with those sort of little stubby wings? That's for sure. This is a high-level interceptor, which is going to unleash its rockets, a bit like a Lightning, I guess. But in doing so, it's going to have limited multi-role capability. I think that's the politest way of putting it. Here we have got the canopy, and that looks quite nice. It's still on its proper sprue stub as well, so that's that's quite good. Looks nice. I hope it ejects well, because I think you might need it. I'm sure if there's any pilots watching this, or people that know about Starfighters, are going to be getting a bit cross with me now. I'm just kidding. It's okay. Right, we've got some nice... we have a lot of Canadian friends on the channel as well, actually, so I'm not trying to offend anybody. But we've got some nice Canadian markings. I like the tiger markings. They look really cool. It's more like a cat than a tiger, though, isn't it? Can we get that in? Look at that. That looks more like a bit more like a pussycat to me. Yeah. Looks like quite a friendly looking tiger, yeah. And we've got the German crosses, of course, from the Luftwaffe, and our nice Canadian maple leaf traditional markings, which look very nice. Then we have the instructions, which, you know, in 75 onwards is when they start doing this weird stuff where they stop doing it in purple for some reason, not really explained. And it said here, I'm going to read it out to you. 104 was developed in 1952, so it's quite an old aircraft, wasn't it? Required a daylight superiority fighter, and after a number of new ideas were considered, this startling design was chosen. It bore little resemblance to existing aircraft, with a tiny wing of only 7 feet 6 inches long, with such sharp edges that ground personnel had to be protected from injury by covers. That's how fine the edges were. Good grief. So you actually cut yourself on the wing, it's so thin. The remarkable machine flew first of all in January 1954 and came into operational service in January 1958. It's a bomber and reconnaissance capability. Bomber, really? Shoes. The Luftwaffe placed a contract for the modified version of it, which had fighter, bomber and reconnaissance capability. As a result, the European production programme has started involving aircraft, industry resources in Germany itself, Belgium and Italy. Germans, you made the wrong choice. You should have got the Lightning. I'll tell you what, you'd have had a much better plane. I'm sorry, but there you go. I've said it. There we go. I'll move on. little colour call-outs for all your small parts, your undercarriage, your pilot, your seat, and then the jet pipe on the intakes, which is quite nicely laid out. Usual Humbrol call-outs, and then straight into the build. So we've got the pilot going into his seat with his very, very important ejector seat, which he might well need soon every time he gets in. Then we've got the tail, this tailpipe and the going into the tailplane assembly, plus we've got your intakes. Bringing it all together, and this is when you realise, even the kit, you realise how long it is and how rocket-like it is. More like a rocket than a plane, yeah? It really is. Just like a rocket with stubby wings stuck on as an afterthought, and stubby little tailplane at the top. And there you go. So you pop all those parts together, bring your wings in, such as they are, and your undercarriage, and then finally all your little weapons, rail go on the wingtips. And that's it really. Put your undercarriage on, and you have got to cut to separate the actual gear bay door covers. And that's it. It's like a rocket on a stick, isn't it? Really, it's the most unusual aeroplane, I have to say. It's I never quite got my head around it when I was a child. I'm not making fun of it because it's American or who used it or anything to do with that. It's just, if you look at the history of this aircraft, they crashed a lot. You know, they didn't call it the Widowmaker for nothing. It, you know, if it got into bad weather, it wasn't great. Low level performance, I don't think was great. Manoeuvrability wasn't great, and its safety record was appalling. Really, it's probably the worst of its type. You know, in a non-war situation, quite a difficult life, and I think that most of the air forces, well, some of them, the Germans kept them for quite a long time, but I think everybody's glad to see the back of them really. And when other aircraft came out, you know, countries that chose the Lightning, like Saudi Arabia and places like that, I don't think they regretted it, because I think Saudi Arabia were considering this and they didn't like it for obvious reasons. But the kit is a beautiful kit, I've got to say. I made it, and it's a good little rendition, and it really goes together nicely as well. And it looks, you know, it's striking when you've got it on the desk there. I think it's even more striking in the sort of naked plastic colours as well. It looks quite remarkable. Anyway, I won't dwell. 9 out of 10. Nice little kit actually. Got great decals, great scheme. Just not recommended if you want to have a long and happy life in terms of flying one, okay? Anyway, so that's the Widowmaker, the F104 Starfighter from Lockheed. Yeah, interesting aircraft. I'm just going to read you a couple of stats before I go actually, and it says Mach 2 at 40,000 feet, so again like the Lightning, you know, but it just didn't have the Lightning's abilities. As we all know, the problem with the Lightning was that it didn't have very good fuel consumption. It ate the fuel and short range, but at least you got back in one piece as long as you didn't use your fuel up. So 9 out of 10, I really rate the kit. It's nice, nicely figured, panel lines are good, all that stuff, great kit. 9 out of 10. Hope you'll give me 9 out of 10, even though I was very nasty about the plane. Please stay tuned, and if you enjoyed what you saw, thought it was interesting, took you down memory lane again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have subscribed, don't forget to ding the notification bell, because if you do that then you'll get alerted to the next video coming up, which will be very soon. Thanks for joining me, really enjoyed your company, and in the meantime, till we meet again, thanks a lot and bye for now.